US30 is one of the most volatile assets in the market, and this is the simple strategy I use to make the most out of it. Welcome back to this channel. So in this video, I'm gonna be reviewing my last four trades on US30. I actually just started trading it, so I haven't taken that much trades on it. And those four trades I took were very good trades. So I'm gonna be breaking down how I got into those four trades. So let's get right into it. Anytime I'm about to trade, I mostly go to the higher time frame to see where the market is heading to or what the overall bias of the market is. And we all know that assets like US30, US oil, all those US based indices, those that are a collection of mostly the Fortune 400, 500 companies, are mostly bullish. So you can see that the overall trend, like the yearly trend and the monthly trend of US30 is bullish, but there are times that it get bearish. So as a day trader, anytime you come into your market to trade US30, you should always check the daily chart. So as you can see, this was my trend line in the daily time frame, and it was showing a very bullish sign. It was showing very bullish signs, even though on the 4 hour price was ranging. But I just wanted to see the information the daily time frame was giving. So I checked it and I got my information. I saw that it was bullish. But when you come to the 4 hour, you can see that price was ranging. It wasn't able to break this resistance level, right? This level that I mark up there, that's the resistance level. So price spent, I think, a couple of weeks just in this range, right? So this first trade, that was the first ever trade I took on US30, and it was a banger. So this is how I got into that first trade. I'm gonna be reviewing all the four trades, and it's going to be very very quick. So pay rapt attention so that you can get the small details I'm gonna be talking about. Right. This was the first trade, and this is how I got into this trade, knowing that price of US30 is bullish, and I was expecting price to break this resistance anytime soon. Even when I was placing this trade, I was expecting price to surpass this level, but I'm a day trader, so I don't hold trades overnight. But I was expecting price to surpass this level, but it didn't. So this was how I got into this trade because I knew US30 was very bullish. When price switched bearish, right? When it switched bearish, I knew that it was just a temporal trend. And as you can see, price came and tapped into this level. This is a demand level, right? That's a demand level. Price tapped into that level and pushed higher. So it was on a Monday. That's why you are seeing a gap here. It was on a Monday. So price opened on Sunday and we had this move towards the downside. Price tapped into this demand level, then pushed higher. So I woke up to price around this area. So when I woke up to price around this area, I already knew that price was about to switch bullish again. So I just drew my trend line. Let me move to the 30 minutes time frame. I just drew my trend line. Very basic concept. I've been preaching this in all my videos. I just drew my trend line, price broke it, and when price broke the trend line, I just knew that structure was about to change. It broke the trend line, and this was where I took the trade, right here. So I'm always following the direction of the market. I don't like trading against the market, right? So when I just see a break of structure or a break of trend line in the lower time frame, that's the 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 5 minutes, I just enter. So I saw this in the 30 minutes, right? And I'm sure the 15 minutes also give the same information because sometimes I love drawing my trend lines in the 15 minutes, right? As you can see, it's the same thing, but just on a different time frame. So this was where I took the trade. I placed my TP at this swing high. As you can see, price came in, hit my TP, then that was it. So the second trade, I want to be very quick with the analysis because it's pretty much the same concept. I use the same break and retest concept to enter the trade. So this was the second trade. As I said earlier, US30 is very bullish, right? And I was expecting US30 to buy, to go and break the resistance level. I was expecting US30 to go and break the resistance level. So all along, I wasn't thinking about sales, right? I wasn't thinking about sales. So when I saw this opportunity, This was what I was thinking about. I was thinking about getting into a buy, right? So as you can see, there is a trend line there. I drew another trend line, but the structure there was pretty messy, right? So unless you are a bit experienced in using trend lines, you wouldn't be able to identify it. As you can see, I drew a trend line there, it broke it, retested, and I entered. And I posted this trade in my group, right? But unfortunately, price didn't hit TP before it reversed. As you can see, it didn't hit TP before it reversed, but it was almost at the full TP level. So that was the second trade I took on US30. And this was the third trade. The third trade was an absolute banger, like an absolute banger. That's one of the wildest trades I've taken in a while. It was a 10 RR trade, and this was where I took the trade. So this trade was taken with a different concept. I used supply and demand to take this trade. It wasn't a trend line concept I used. So as you can see, price move lower. Price rallied down. It rallied down from all the way here to down here, and it broke this trend line. And when it broke this trend line, I spotted this demand level. And remember that I already told you that price of US30 has always been bullish and to always be bullish, even though sometimes it's switch bearish. So when I saw this demand level, I just knew that this trend line break wasn't gonna continue the bearish movement. So I drew this trend line. Sorry, I marked this demand zone. Price came and tapped into it. When price tapped into it, this is the catch. I didn't just enter, right? When price tapped into it, let me move back to the 1 hour. You can see why I took the trade, right? When price tapped into it, I scaled down to the lower time frame. Let me move back to the 5 minutes time frame. I scaled down to the lower time frame. Remember that price tapped into my demand level, right? If it was any other trader, he would have taken the trade, right? And sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm very aggressive, but that's not the best. So I scaled down to the lower time frame and I saw a change of structure, or better still, a break of a trend line in the lower time frame. If you draw a trend line here, you see that price broke it, right? So that's a change of structure, right? In price action, we call it a change of structure. So price changed structure, or better still, it broke the trend line. Then that was my confirmation. So I entered and price moved aggressively to my TP. It was a banger of a trade, right? Here's it. Hit the TP, and that was it. And the last trade too was a very special trade because I made a lot of money. I risked a little bit more than my normal risk, and I made a lot of money off this trade. So this trade too was taken with my trend line concept, right? So as I said, I was always gonna buy. I was never gonna sell, even though price made this bearish move. Some people could have taken those trade with their strategies, but like my strategy, I don't like trading against the trend because I mostly trade trend lines. I don't like trading against the trend. That's why I always draw trend lines to the higher time frame so that I'll just be following the trade. So when price made this bearish movement after price tapped into the supply zone or the resistance zone, it made this bearish movement. What do you expect me to do? Place my trend line as simple as ABC. I placed the trend line there, and what happened? Price broke, retested, then I entered. And this time, what happened? Price moved to my TP again. It moved to my TP, hit it. And what did I say initially? I said I was expecting price to break this resistance level. That's why I was only buying. So price actually broke it and moved higher, right? So that's how I got into this trade. And so I expect price to buy, even though I'm making this video on the Sunday. When markets open on Monday, price might retest this support level. It's not in support, it's not more resistance level. Price might retest it, then we'll continue buying, or you'll come back to this trend line. But I don't think that will be possible. I think price will make a pullback, a very deep pullback. Anytime price breaks an all-time high, it's an all-time high. Let me move to the higher time frame. It's an all-time high. Anytime price breaks an all-time high, it will make a pullback before it continues the move. So this is how I got into this wonderful trades on US30. So you can employ these strategies and the tricks I use in getting into this trade into your system, then I'm sure it will help you. Thank you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can also share it to your trading friends so that they can benefit from this video. Bye. See you in the next one.